Alcatraz, the name alone sends a shiver down your spine. A fortress of concrete and steel, rising from the icy waters of the San Francisco Bay. For 29 years, it was America's most feared federal penitentiary, a place designed to hold the unholdable, the men other prisons couldn't break. Famous inmates like Al Capone and Machine Gun Kelly walked these halls. But tonight, we're not talking about the gangsters you know. We're delving into a story that has become a chilling legend, a tale whispered by guards and inmates alike, the story of Cell Block D, and the entity that some say still haunts it. Our story begins in the bleakest corner of this already bleak prison. Cell Block D, also known as the Hole. This wasn't just a cell block, it was a punishment within a punishment. Inmates here were plunged into total darkness, stripped of everything, left alone with only their thoughts and the biting cold. The most severe punishment was in one of the 5 strip cells at the end of the corridor. Here, inmates had nothing but the clothes on their backs, a hole in the floor for a toilet, and a concrete slab for a bed. It was a place designed to shatter the human spirit. And it's here, in the 1940s, that our legend takes root. The exact date is lost to time, swallowed by the prison's own secrecy, but the story is always the same. An inmate whose name has been deliberately erased from many records was thrown into cell 14D, one of the dreaded strip cells. We don't know his crime inside Alcatraz, only that he had pushed the guards too far. From the moment the heavy steel door slammed shut, the screaming began. It wasn't the usual shouting of an angry prisoner. It was different. This was a scream of pure, primal terror. He yelled that something was in the cell with him, something with glowing eyes. He begged, he pleaded, he shrieked for the guards to let him out. The guards on duty, hardened men who had seen it all, initially dismissed it. They were used to mind games and inmates trying to fake insanity to get a transfer to the infirmary. They told him to shut up, that he was alone, that his only company was the darkness, but the screams didn't stop. They echoed through the cold, stone corridor of D Block, growing more desperate, more unhinged with every passing hour. Other inmates in the nearby cells heard it all. They later reported hearing not one, but 2 voices coming from the cell the inmates, and another, deeper, guttural sound they couldn't identify. The night wore on, the screaming intensified, then suddenly it stopped. The silence that followed was, by all accounts, more terrifying than the noise had been. It was an absolute, dead silence that settled over Cell Block D like a shroud. The guards, now genuinely unnerved, waited until morning. They had rules to follow, and opening the hole at night was against protocol, no matter the circumstances. When the sun rose over the bay, the guards finally unlocked the heavy door of Cell 14D. What they found inside has become the core of the Alcatraz legend. The inmate was dead, but it wasn't a simple death. The prison doctor's initial report was baffling. He had been strangled. The marks on his neck were clear, dark bruises in the shape of fingers, but they weren't his own. His face was frozen in an expression of sheer horror, his eyes wide and bulging, staring at something no one else could see. And strangest of all, the autopsy revealed that the blood vessels in his face had burst, something that could happen from extreme strangulation. How could a man be strangled to death inside a locked, empty, solid steel cell? The guards were interrogated. They swore no one had gone near the cell all night. The inmates in the adjoining cells corroborated their story. No one came, no one left. The official story from the prison authorities was that the inmate, in a fit of madness, had somehow managed to strange himself. But the guards who were there, the men who saw the body and the terror on his face, they didn't buy it. They whispered about the glowing eyes, about the other voice the prisoners heard. They believed that whatever the inmate claimed was in the cell with him had killed him. The story doesn't end there. The very next day, when the guards were doing their routine head count, they counted one too many prisoners. They counted again and again. Each time, the count was off by 1. Puzzled, they went down the line, identifying each inmate. As they reached the end of the line, several guards and inmates swore they saw the ghostly figure of the recently deceased prisoner standing there for a moment before vanishing into thin air. After this incident, Cell 14D was never the same. Other inmates who were later placed in the cell reported feeling an intense, biting cold that had no natural source, even by Alcatraz standards. They spoke of a strange energy in the darkness, a feeling of being watched by something malevolent. Many would refuse to stay, pounding on the door and begging to be returned to their regular cells. Preferring any other punishment to another minute in 14D, guards began to avoid that end of the corridor, and many reported strange whispers and cold spots long after the prison was shut down. Today, Alcatraz is a national park, visited by over 1 million people every year. Tourists and paranormal investigators flock to Cell Block D, drawn by its dark history. Many visitors who step into Cell 14D report an immediate change in atmosphere. They describe a sudden drop in temperature, feelings of overwhelming sadness and dread, and some have even claimed to feel invisible hands touching their neck or shoulders. Audio recordings taken inside the cell have captured unexplained whispers and strange noises when no one was speaking. Photographers have captured orbs and strange mists that weren't visible to the naked eye. Was it a case of mass hysteria, a story born from the oppressive, mind-bending environment of the rock? Was it a tall tale spun by inmates to scare the new fish? Or did something truly supernatural happen in that dark, cold cell? The official records are sealed or sanitized, and the men who were there are long gone. All that remains is the story. The legend of the inmate in Cell 14D, a story that has seeped into the very walls of Alcatraz. It serves as a chilling reminder that while men built this prison to contain the living, they may have inadvertently created a cage for something else entirely. Something that, to this day, waits in the darkness of Cell 14D for its next visitor. So if you ever find yourself walking the lonely corridors of Alcatraz and you feel a sudden, inexplicable chill as you pass the hole, remember the man who screamed about the glowing eyes. You might not be as alone as you think. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the hidden stories and dark legends of history, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We've got a lot more chilling tales to uncover. See you next time.